checking. Jacks, you can see without a spade, does actually still do some betting. Benefits from, deny equity to overcards, but also still getting value from the hands that can continue. So yeah, earlier on we had ace queen off with a spade, and I said we've got a pair. Eight, and once again we're going to start with the button versus big blind when we're looking at single raised pots, and we'll go into the multi-way bit in a moment. So let's go here, take off high card. We want to go to monotone, and we've got this king queen 8 board, and you can see I've chosen it for a reason. It's the one that's the highest frequency check for the button against the big blind. Even though imposition's equity is reasonable here, we see a lot more checking, and because of that as well, we're going to see a decent amount of big betting. So we want to see if that's the case once we get 3 players in here. Let's put this board in actually. So this time you can see the button and small blind quite similar in terms of equity here. We've got the benefit of playing in position. Big blind's equity, once again, not very good. So it'll be interesting to see how each player plays in this spot. So there is a bit of leading from the small blind, 19%. Big blind, pretty much pure check. And so one of the biggest differences here is we actually do less checking, and we do a lot less big betting. There's no big betting going on at all. It's just going to be small bet or check. But there was a lot of checking in this spot. So this is where drilling again is going to be really, really helpful, because it's very tough to like just visualize this and try and memorize it. And I think, again, making mistakes and seeing where you're betting when you shouldn't be, trying to work out why that's the case, like why you should be checking rather than betting, is going to be quite useful. So you can see like jacks, 10s, 9s as under pairs to the queen, wants to check very frequently. Similar thing going on with top set, again, blocking a lot of the hands that can continue, like top pair hands, of course. Some queen X going for a check, but there seems to be a lot more betting. I definitely think I'm going to make some mistakes in here. Looks like a lot of ace highs just go for a check back as well, having an overcard. So yeah, let's just fire it in and see what happens, because we're it's not always clear like why what the patterns are until we actually start playing through some hands. Okay, we have a gut shot here. Same thing going on here. Okay, still a decent amount of betting with a king and no spade. That was a pure bet. Ace, what was it? Ace jack off with a spade. Jack 8 off, quite a lot of betting. Decent amount of checking here with the 8 out straight draw. Queen 3 was mixing. Ace highs was a decent amount of checking. That's quite high. Probably more betting with the ace of spades, having the nut flush draw as well. A lot more betting with the king X than I thought there was going to be. Pure check here with the ace 9. Glad I found that. More betting with the 7 of spades. I would say, yeah, going to be betting more frequently when we have an 8 out straight draw and a flush draw as well. Yeah, I think this is the other one as well. I think I probably would have looked at this and just checked back a lot. But actually, it's just betting quite frequently with middle pair and top pair, as you can see. Ace highs go for a check back quite frequently. Again, gut shot and a flush draw. Betting 8 out straight draw and a flush draw. Betting. Well, it's mixing. Ace highs again, just going for a check. Betting more frequently with a spade. Assume this bets all the time. With the nuts, checking. Okay, so ace 3, it seems to be a cutoff at like ace 5, ace 6, ace 7, ace 9. Okay, so queen, there was, yes, definitely some more checking with the kind of queen 9, like middle pairs. I think that's something we could take a look at. Again, checking here. Okay, quite a lot of checking with the jack 6 of diamonds. Just try and whiz through these. We had jack 6 of diamonds checking a lot, so I assume jack 6 of hearts does the same. Okay, more checking with the underpairs. Pure check with 6s. Queen jack. A lot of the queen X is just betting. I think that's a big takeaway. And this one's going to bet. Okay, well, we did pretty well there. 50 out of 50. Pretty happy. Pretty happy to get that spot. I actually would have preferred to make some mistakes, to be honest, to see where the issues were. But yeah, you can see that on this monotone board, King Queen 8, we do more betting than we would if it was against the big blind, and we do no big betting whatsoever, whereas we were doing some before, I believe. Okay, so let's try a different monotone board. We'll try an 8-3-deuce board, and once again we will start here. There should be an 8-3-deuce board in here. So this time, really high frequency bet. This is again button versus big blind, 30 big blinds deep, single raise pot heads up. There is some big betting, mainly small betting. Equity reasonable for us. So let's see what effect it has. Going to 3 players instead, and this time you can see we have a little bit more of an advantage, like 4% as opposed to 2%, and it looks like the big blind's actually sharing some of the equity here as well. So yeah, this could be fairly interesting to see what happens. So still a little bit of leading from the small blind, some 8x that wants to go ahead and bet. Big blind still though, you know, just in a really lousy situation with a really wide and weak range, and the weakest of the 3 ranges. So I haven't seen a spot where they're going to start leading just yet. And then we see a lot of betting once again. But it's not the same as it is for button versus big blind. So there are some differences here. Yeah, it looks like some ace highs are going to start checking back again. We've got some king highs as well, so maybe some 2 over cards. Wanted to go for a check back. Top set wants to check sometimes, and we've got under pairs as well. Let's have a look at the suits of this, because sometimes you can see 7s with a spade wants to bet. You can bet call, and you block some continues and things like that. But the 7s without a spade doesn't, you can see it wants to mainly go for a check. So we'll try and keep an eye on that. But it does look like over pairs, just very happy to value bet here. And yeah, it'll be the other hands, like a queen 7, for example. Like finding these mixes is going to be fairly challenging. I mean, go for a check without the flush seems reasonable. All right, let's give it a whirl and see how we get on. So 7s, this was mainly checking, but some betting as well. This seems to me to be a hand we definitely want to bet. Yeah, Jack 10. I think there will be some checking with these kind of hands, 2 overs, backdoor straight draw, stuff like that. No spade. But as you can see, I mean, there's still just a lot of betting here. King Queen, then 2 overs. One of those examples that we had of wanting to just check back. I think King 10 of hearts might be the same. I mean, it's pure check actually. King 5, getting better hands to fold would be reasonable. Some ace highs, yeah, mainly checking. Common theme that we're seeing on these monotone boards. 5's more likely to bet than check with the spade, I think. Okay. Cool. Always trying. So I think when you're using the 3-way software, I think it can be really easy to just go, okay, well, I'll just choose one option. It's probably going to be bet or check. Like, we know it's going to be small bet or check, right? So just choose one of those options, and generally if it's a mix, you're not going to get it wrong, right? But really what we want to try to do is to highlight the action that happens more frequently first. I think that's the game to be able to play with yourself. This mixed. Okay, glad to find that. Okay. And we'll be, higher frequency check. I'm happy with that. Betting frequently. Want to bet frequently here. We'll bet this one. Okay, high frequency check. Yanis asks a question here. Says, is there ever when small blind or bigger blind bet first in TTO? Yeah, you can set that up. Yep. Yeah, so you can set it up. Let's go back here. We click explore, go back to the small blind. You can have them bet and the big blind fold, and then you can see what your strategy is supposed to look like, which is pretty useful. I just wanted to keep the situation the same to be able to compare apples with apples rather than apples with oranges. Okay, yeah, so pretty reasonable. We didn't really get any of these mixes, any of these more challenging hands. I'd find the checks with the King 7. King 7 off. Yeah, I mean, it's not too much. I mean, just betting more frequently with a spade, it just makes sense to me. Cool, yeah, so that's the 8-3-deuce board. We've got some more time now to explore some other monotone boards, so I think we should definitely do that. I think going for this sort of more connected-ish type board. I just want to see if we have this available. Jack 8-4. We do, which is excellent. So there is, a little bit of checking. 10%, 9.5%. Mixture of sizes. Equity still, reasonable. Let's have a look in here instead. So here you can see button and small blind a lot closer. So let's just quickly have a look at small blind's range. So there is some, like on the, when it was, what was it, 8-3-deuce monotone, there was some top pairs, but then there's also a lot of hands here that just haven't connected. Yes, some of them will have spades in them. You'll have a flush draw within these offsuit hands. But then there's a lot of suited hands that, diamonds, hearts, and clubs that don't have anything. Whereas in this jack high board, you can see there's king jack suited, there's queen jack off, jack 10 off. There's some 8x still, of course. So I think I think that's what leads it to these equities running suddenly a lot closer. So there is some leading going on for the small blinds. Still no leading for the big blind, poor big blind. And then we just do a huge amount of betting once again here. Looks like there's some checking 7s, 6s, 5s, and 3s. Let's just check whether it's with spades or without. Yeah, so it's without once again. So common theme going on here. If you do want to bet more frequently with the spade, and same goes for a lot of these hands as well. Okay, I think it's going to be fairly interesting to have a go at. Betting more with the spade, of course. It's still a mix. Okay, so we got that. Yeah, we went for check, higher frequency check, as the higher option in this spot, but actually, betting is the one. Betting more frequently with a spade. We have a gut shot here as well as a flush draw. Okay, higher frequency with the ace 9. Just having like an overcard to the jack, but also an overcard to the 8 as well. But I think it'd be interesting, to see how this goes. Okay, so higher frequency betting with the ace 10 off. Definitely want to be betting this hand for value. Mixing with this one. Yeah, I mean more checking back than I think I thought. 2 overs, pretty close. Same with this one. Okay, so I think I'm pleased to have found that full frequency check back with 6s without a spade. I think flushes we just want to bet. Okay, so a high frequency with king 9 off, sort of, yeah, there's sort of like ace 9 off, king 9 off, no spade, just wants to check more frequently. Checking back with the nut flush there, ace 7 of spades sometimes is pretty funky. Always betting top pair, top kicker. Okay, mixing the king 7 off. Betting very frequently with top pair. Sevens without a spade, I think, yeah, just high frequency check. Okay, more frequently with the king 10. I mean, difficult to know. Ace 9 off and ace, yeah, I mean, ace 9 off, no spade, ace 9 of clubs, same hand, right? So checking a lot more frequently. Really high frequency check with the king 5. Checking back some flushes. As we saw, ace 7, 7 5 now. Okay, higher frequency checking with the ace 3. Just do a few more. This was the one that had a lot more checking than I thought, but still higher frequency bets and betting again here. Okay, so again, like I'm not sort of explaining every thought process here. We're just trying to get into this sort of drilling training idea of sort of understanding where we do find the bets. We did pretty well there. I mean, it's a lot of mixing anyway, so you're not going to go too far wrong if you just know that it's between check and small bet. We have seen a board earlier on, ace, king, queen, that actually had some bigger bets on, like with ace, jack, ace 10, 9, 10 with a spade, stuff like that. But generally speaking, you know, we've seen a lot of small bet and checks. So if you just click small bet and check, you're not going to get it wrong. So you get to this point and you're like, okay, that's pretty reasonable. There's a new feature, actually. I have not seen this before. And you can see where we got it correct. This is really nice, actually. So if we had made some mistakes, we can go in here and see what's going on. But yeah, you can just see how much mixing there is. We just want to make sure that we're not mixing with a hand like ace jack. Where else? King 9 off with a spade, king 7 off with a spade, stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's going to be quite important. Let's just try. Let's try. I mean, we've already done ace high and monotone today, so I think that if we combine the two and we do something like an ace 8 7, we'll see if we've got that in here. Ace 8 7, again, really high frequency bet, mainly for a small size, a little bit of big betting. Equity is a lot higher. Remember, big blind is really missing a lot of ace X hands to begin with. Yes, they're going to have some suited hands, of course, but yeah, there's the equity is just a lot higher for the imposition player. Small blind and big blind are going to be 3-betting or jamming a decent number of ace X hands. So there is some leading still going on in this spot, but if they do check, then you can see big blind is going to check back, and in position just gets to do a lot of betting. And again, it's coming from the checking is coming from the kind of hands you'd expect. Although, if I'm honest, looking at a hand like 8-7 really stands out. Bottom 2 pair. I assume 6s, 5s, 4s, and 3s are just mixing when it comes to having a spade. So yeah, just betting more frequently with a spade. But there's having said that, I mean, pocket 3s bets more frequently without a spade, to be honest. If you look in here, you can see that we're betting like 70% small size with the 3s without a spade, and then 3s with a spade, we just check a lot more frequently. So that's pretty interesting. Same thing's going on with 4s actually, and 5s. It's kind of the other way around, although 6s now just bets more frequently with a spade. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. 7s through 10s wants to bet a lot. Jacks does start checking a bit without a spade. Queens always checks without a spade. Kings always checks without a spade. We got some checks within here as well. King 7 just doesn't like to put money in, although it's bottom pair this time, so it's good to know. But yeah, finding this 8-7, I'm not entirely sure why. Although having said that, if the small blind and the big blind are missing a lot of ace-x, and don't forget the small blind when they do have an ace is going to lead some of the time as well. So when they both check, it's very likely for them to have an ace. And then if you block both the 8 and the 7, then what do they have to continue? Yes, they're going to have flush draws and straight draws, and can already have a beat in having a flush. But yeah, I think that's potentially the reason why we're checking the 8-7 specifically here. Okay, decent amount of checking back here with ace king. Again, this is kind of those middling hand, king, queen, king, jack, king 10. Yeah, higher frequency checkbacks in this spot. I think then king 4 would just bet more frequently. It doesn't. Actually just likes to check more. It looks like a pair with a flush draw is just going to bet very, very frequently. Just again for obvious reasons. You can obviously continue versus a check raise. You have a pair and a draw. Okay, more betting with the jack 7. Always going to be betting again. We just talked about this top pair, with a flush draw. Okay, some checkbacks with some weaker 7x hands. I think this is going to bet very frequently. Pair and a flush draw. Pair and a flush draw bets very frequently. Mixing. Okay, I think this is a good one to look at then. So 6-5 mixing. I think it's very easy to just go ahead and just bet a hand like this. Don't know what you guys think, but I would imagine that we're looking at this spot, playing two players, and you're just like, okay, well, yeah, I think we can just bet this hand. We have a 6 high flush, and there's lots to still get value from. We don't block, an 8, a 7, an ace, bigger spades. Yeah. So I think it's interesting to have some checkbacks with some checkbacks with some really strong hands. I think this is part of the reason why we do the drilling, rather than just trying to explore it and try and work it out, is to go, okay, well, there's actually some checking here with this hand. This is it's one of those ones we just talked about, like 5s, 4s, and 3s, but once we get to 6s, it was betting more with the spade, and 5s was kind of mixing. So yeah, betting more without a spade, I believe. Yeah. Okay, decent amount of check. 8 out straight draw. 2 overs to the 8 and the 7. Okay. So this is an interesting one to talk about. Jacks, queens, kings. Kings and queens without a spade was definitely checking. Jacks, you can see without a spade, does actually still do some betting. Benefits from deny equity to overcards, but also still getting value from the hands that can continue. So yeah, earlier on we had ace queen off with a spade, and I said we've got a pair and a flush draw. We're going to be betting very frequently, and I think it was a pure bet, ace queen off with the queen of spades. I'm really glad that we got this hand as well, because now we can say, right, it's not just because you've got top pair, really good, like strong kicker. We don't have a spade in this spot, so we actually do some checking as well. Okay, decent amount of checking here. Gut shot and a flush draw. That's pretty good to look at. Kings with a spade does bets, whereas kings without was going to do some checking. Again, top pair and a flush draw. I imagine I think it was ace king and diamonds go for a check back sometimes. I think this will mix as well. Yeah, decent. I mean, it's quite a lot, 36%. This did more checking. Yeah. Okay, cool. So again, we got 50 out of 50, but there's just so much mixing. I think we're going to be sort of lured into this sense that we know exactly what we're doing here, and we can get these mixes spot on, because we can't. But I think knowing, okay, well, threes is probably going to check more than bet in this spot. So we've got a pretty reasonable idea of frequencies in this situation. But then there's like just, lots of different boards that we can look at. We did quite a few monotone boards here. We'll do one more monotone board, and then we'll move on to paired boards. Let's try this King Jack 5 board. I'm not sure that we've necessarily got this. Yeah, we don't have it on here, but we can have a look at the equities over here. So this time small blind slightly ahead. We might see some more leading because of that. It's not quite as high as the Ace King Queen board that we saw earlier on. But I mean, the equities still run fairly close together for the button and the small blind. So yeah, 41% betting, a lot more than the ones we've had in the meantime. The Ace King Queen was very high frequency, but here you can see that we get to bet more frequently. Let's have a look at the big blind. Still not great. And then the button. So it's quite a lot of checking in this spot. And again, let's go back to here. We don't have the equity advantage. On those boards where we did have the equity advantage, we're just doing still a reasonable amount of betting. Not pure bet by any stretch, but still betting a lot for a small size. Whereas here you can see, it's not a huge advantage over the big blind, and we're actually behind in terms of equity against the small blind. So yeah, that's where we're at with this one. So looks to me like, yeah, when I'm first looking at this, and it would have been very, very easy for me to just go through all the monotone boards before this session and go, right, okay, I know exactly what's going on here. But part of using the DTO three-way to explore stuff like this is the fun of like trying to work out what's going on in real time. So when you come to study and train, but this part is what I would class as study, trying to work out exactly what's going on. There are a couple of ways to do it. You can try and visualize it by looking at what's going on here. You can see like ace highs seem to do quite a lot of checking. You've got under pairs like 10s, 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s, 4s, 3s that do a lot of checking. And then everything else just seems to mix. Ace queen suited seems to do a lot of checking. Ace queen off. Let's have a look. That suits on this. Yeah, ace queen off with a heart wants to bet. Ace queen off without wants to check. The kind of hand, you have an overcard, you have a gut shot, you don't really want to face a check raise, you don't want to strengthen your opponent's range by betting and them calling. So could be reasons. It looks like ace queen. Ace queen is a very interesting one. So that's something to keep an eye on. Cool. And then the other way, so you can try and visualize it and think, okay, I've got some ideas there about how we approach this spot. But now we need to drill it, right? We need to drill it and to see exactly, what might be going on, and see if see the mistakes you're making again. But I do think as long as we can hit those ones that we just identified, that again we're going to get a lot of this kind of mixing situation going on. So yeah, not too much to go through here. Decent amount of checking though with the ace of hearts. A lot of checking here. 9-8 off, just no real benefit to betting. Aces just wants to bet. Okay, so this is our first mistake in quite a while, I would say. So quite a lot of checking back with the ace X, wasn't there? So there was like ace queen. Ace 10 was checking back sometimes, and then we saw this big drop off with like ace 9, ace 8, ace 7. So it's something that I just didn't think about. Savio Mane says, "Hi Gareth, love this content. Much love from Italy." Oh. Hello from England, and thanks for joining us all the way from Italy. Cool. Ace 10 betting a bit more frequently than certainly with ace queen. This was checking. We'll try and get it right the second time so we don't blunder the same spot. Here, I'm going to go more bets, mixing with queen 10. Okay, so we muck this one up as well. Queen 7. I wonder if there's just going to be this pattern of like ace 7, queen 7. Obviously not king 7 because it's top pair, but ace 7, queen 7, 10 7, something along those lines. We'll try and continue through. Yeah, more checking with the 9-8. Okay, so ace 9 off again, like so it'll be like the 9, 8s, and 7s. Just checking more frequently. But I think it's interesting because you can kind of like start to group some of these hands together. So like top pair with a flush draw. This is a gut shot. We'd be betting more frequently with if we had ace 10 off with a heart, for example. Queens without a heart. Okay, more checking. Kind of like nothing type hands. Depends how you kind of group your hands. You could do it things from the top to the bottom. So flushes, sets, 2 pair, 1 pair. Over pair. You can have aces in top pair, second pair, third pair, low pair. Then you could have kind of nothing type hands. You can have ace high, I suppose, and then nothing. But some of that nothing is going to be hands like queen 10 or ace queen, ace 10. You have some interesting things going on there. Queen 10, queen 9. There's going to be flush draws, of course. And then sometimes you're going to have like pair and a heart. Is that going to play differently from a pair without a heart? And then this kind of hand like is nothing, and I think it's not always easy to know exactly what you're going to do. Ace queen off without a heart, pure check. Ooh, almost. But that was one of those examples we looked at before we started. And last one. All right, 47 out of 50. So it was ace 7 of diamonds, ace 9 off. In fact, might as well use this because this tells us where we made the blunder. So ace 9 off. Queen 7. Okay, yeah, that's what we wanted to do, is to look at this 7x thing going on. What's that's wrong? Okay, so Queen 7, Jack 7's top pair. So I did say like ace 7, Queen 7 is something going on there, and then 10 7 as well. But looks like 10 7 just benefits from getting some queen highs, ace highs to fold. Ace queen off, no heart, wants to check very frequently. We saw this earlier on. But then like ace 10 has a gut shot and an overcard, right? Whereas ace 9 just has an overcard. If we don't have a heart as well, it's a pretty lousy hand. Very similar things going on. And then once we get underneath the 5, we can generate folds from better hands with the weaker ace-x hands. So if we have a quick look, we can see like betting ace 3, ace 4, ace 5, for example. Ace 2, ace 3, ace 4. Generating folds from these weaker ace-x hands, ace 8, no heart, is pretty reasonable. Of course, we're not going to get a jack or a king to fold, but what is, I think, pretty interesting to note here is that facing the small bet, the big blind actually starts folding some 5x hands. So I do think that's, this is, I mean, we can't go through every single situation, every spot in this much detail, which is why I really encourage you to get the software and to play through it yourself. But that is pretty interesting that, the big blind has to start folding. I think this would be a pretty nice study to do as to what the big blind does once the button bets on these various boards. Obviously today we just wanted to focus on button C betting, but I think this is good to see. See that the big blind is starting to fold some 5x. So is that why we potentially saw some betting with the 3s and 4s? Yeah, I mean there's certainly more betting with 3s and 4s being able to get a 5 to fold than 6s, 7s, 8s and 9s. So it's just if a 5 starts folding, what are these hands really benefiting from? Yes, they get to deny overcards, but there's more benefit from betting pocket 3s, for example, to get a 5 to fold. Let's have a look at this. I missed some. Ace 9, 8, 7, 6 all check. 7s do not block value in opponent's range. I think we need a hand that blocks value in the opponent's range. Okay, I think that's reasonable. reasonable thing. Just put this back in there. I mean, there's definitely a trend sort of in this region between the jack and the 5. As I mentioned before, like the 10 just has a gut shot as well. But yeah, in terms of value, I mean, the 7 and the 9. Yeah, I mean, potentially having the 9, 8, 7, 6, we see a lot of those hands start to fold. 9, 8, 7, 6, a lot of these hands that we're just very far ahead of. So blocking, getting hands that are worse and that you dominate heavily to fold doesn't seem to make too much sense. Yeah, and not, you're not getting King X and Jack X hands to fold. Interestingly, like the 9X Jack, Jack 9, we don't block any Jack 9 off. Jack 9 suited is in here. Yeah, there's some other hands in here. Yeah, there's definitely going to be something in that. We need to explore it a little bit more to work that out. Okay, let's jump to the final board we're going to look at today. In this same formation or situation, button versus small blind versus big blind.